What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to do a leveling video on the Ender 3 Pro. This will show you how to level your Ender 3 Pro if you're brand new to it, or if you're just having issues leveling it. This will be the easiest way to level it. You don't need a BL touch, an automatic bed leveling. That stuff requires you to hand level it first, and then it should make up the gaps. It is in no way going to make leveling automatic for you. You still have to adjust these screws whether you're using a BL touch, a Creality touch, an automatic bed leveling system or not. So all you need to do is make sure that your machine is tight first. So just a general check, take your extruder and shake it. If your wheels bounce up and down, you see this nut right here? There's a nut underneath on this wheel, just right there. And you need to adjust that. It doesn't matter which way you go until it's tight. It'll free spin. You can never tighten it all the way. It's just going to take that wheel and move it in and out, closer and further away from the rail. So take your fingers, run it across all your wheels, make sure that they don't free spin. You shouldn't be able to spin these wheels when it's stationary. Once all that's tight and your belt has good tension on it, actually this belt could probably use to be tightened a little bit. So we'll tighten that just really quickly to make sure that this prints well. A little bit bigger. And this is one on the Ender 3s. This will apply to a V2 as well. The V2 has nice tensioners here at the end. Here, camera, can you hold this real quick? Okay, so the V2 will have nice tensioners here, but on your Pro, if you don't have tensioners, you've got to kind of prop this out to tighten it, and then I have to prop it out with this one, tighten it with this one. So yeah, we want to put tension on that, and then tighten this bolt down. Kind of make sure it's even, and boom, tighten that down. Okay, and with these, you definitely want to make sure that you get it tight on the long axis of your Allen, because that's going to have a lot of tension up against it. And yeah, that belt's tight too. Thank you. Okay, so that is good. The first step we're going to do is come down here to, now this has got a different firmware, right, in it? So we're using someone else's Ender. This will be very similar to what you get.
This is the 3DP Rescue firmware.
Okay, so it's 3DP Rescue. Hold on. We're not going to start the calibration yet. So we're gonna motion, we'll go to auto home. So you want to home it first. And the first key is see, this one's got solid mounts. You might have springs, but you'll need to adjust this here. This is ideally designed so that you take it all the way down. Yeah, these have enough tension, so that's good. But you can adjust this up or down a little bit. In some cases I've seen where this nub needs to be cut off, and you need to bring this down further so you have enough spring tension. The key is you want to have enough spring tension so that if you can grab your bed and move it back and forth, that you don't that your bed's not moving. You don't want to see your bed move back and forth. You don't want to see it shake. So two things. One, if you can move your bed back and forth, it could be that you need to tighten your wheels. So this little concentric nut here, if you need to tighten that, that will give a little bit more tension there. But if you're getting slippage from your springs in between the mounting plate and the bed there, then you want to tighten that. Okay, so we've homed it here. Let's clip off that little bit of excess. And what we're gonna do is come back into the screen, motion, and disable steppers. This one has a bed leveling option, but I believe the stock screen doesn't, so I'm just going to teach you without that. And what you're essentially going to be looking for is just the teeniest gap in between the nozzle and the bed. And I can kind of see when it might be hard to see it on camera. Let me see. Oh, right about there. And then we're going to scoot it over, and if you feel it grabbing or scraping, then you need to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to adjust that some, and yeah, back here we're going to adjust that. It looks like it's just right there. So that's, sorry, I'm looking through the camera and not through the camera. Okay, so we got just the first visible gap in between the print bed, in between the print bed and the nozzle. So now we've warmed it up. We will put our filament in there. Actually, first we're going to go load our bed. So while the bed's warming up, we're going to load our print, sorry. And right there, we'll pre-warm the bed to 50. So we'll take out our SD card here. And we'll come over to the computer. Mind if I sit there? Just be more ergonomic for me, I appreciate it. Okay, so we put our SD card in the computer. Sorry for all the motion, guys. And what we will do is we'll come here. So you'll see this again in a second. This is my King Rune profile, so we're going to come up here. If this is your first time starting Cura, it'll come up with this. You'll go to Add Non-Network Printer. You'll come down to Creality. You'll choose... Where's Creality? You'll choose the Ender 3 or the Ender 3 Pro, add, and then you'll add it again. I've already got this added a couple times. So we'll come over here in our list, Creality Ender 3. So here's our Ender, and then you'll come over here to Marketplace and you'll download calibration shapes. Once you download this and install it, you'll have to click agree, and then it'll tell you to close out of Cura. So you'll close out of Cura, you'll reopen it back up, and then it will have up here in extensions these parts for calibration. So I recommend you go through each one of these and you test out different settings in the parts for calibration. But we're gonna do the bed leveling right now. So boom, now we've got a bed leveling thing here. You can adjust the size if you want, but this is the perfect size for the Ender. And then over here on the right side, when you open this, it'll come up like this. Go ahead and go to custom and start learning all these settings here. I won't go over the settings now because we're just going to be doing a regular leveling video, but the most important setting for this one is the skirt. I recommend you do a skirt before every print. That way you can check the leveling before your print in case it's off. You always want to look at your first layer, make sure that it looks good, and the skirt will allow you to do that before the print. So you can make some live adjustments of those screws if you need to, and either peel off the skirt or just watch it adjust, and it'll be good to go before you print. So we're going to save this calibration file. That's a 0.4 nozzle on it, right? Okay. So yeah, so we got a 0.4 nozzle saved on this one. If you were to change your nozzle size, you could do that here to a different size nozzle. But all right, we've saved that one. It's saved under Entitled. And then we will come down here to, oh, it's already warmed up. So here, camera, can you hold the camera real quick? So now we're gonna load our filament. On this printer, we have a different filament mount holder, but as long as your filament's on this side, that's good. We also printed this neat little piece right here, which will kind of help keep the filament from touching the screw here. And when you put it through the hole, you're going to pull back on this tensioner arm, and you might have to twist it. You might have to kind of bend it a little bit pre-putting it in there. On this one, it is a little tricky than other printers to get it to go in. There it is. Alright. I think so, yep. Alright, so we got that feeding in there. And you'll go till you know that you've got it all the way through, and you can feel it kind of melting. So that's ready to go. And we're going to start it. Print from media, and it will be Untitled. Why are you putting it on me? So here is back to the printer. Yeah, so it should be starting here shortly. And this next method that I teach, so I checked that there's a gap. Now we're gonna look for, as it's making its first passes, we're gonna look to see that each pass is even with itself. We don't want to see any gaps, and we don't want to see it smushed up on itself. You know, this is an example of smushed, where it was so smushed it literally came out transparent and barely can be seen. That'll eventually come off with other prints or could be cleaned off. But we want to see a nice healthy layer, and you know, thick and just even with each other. So if there's gaps, we need to raise the bed a little bit to the nozzle. Should be starting any second. And these printers are okay if you bought one of these guys.
No, they're not. They suck.
Some people really don't like them. I don't personally like them. I think the King Runes are a better printer, but this video is about making this work, and if you got one, I understand you want to try to make it work. A lot of people I've heard plenty of stories of people owning these printers and not having problems for, 6 months to years. I've heard of other people not being able to get a print off of them after heavy modification and trial and error for weeks and months, and they finally just give in on it. I know these guys, they tend to have some issues over time. Why is this taking so long to start? It's like perfectly at temp, but it's not starting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hey, can you hand me the phone charger? Just the whole box. Sorry about that. Sorry, the phone is starting to die, so we have to plug it in before it stops the video. Okay. So, it's made its first purge on the side, and now it's printing. So this is a really good example of what's like too high. So if we can run our finger across it, and that was the very first line, so it might have been just a little too much, but this is too squished. We can see through this and it's literally coming up, so we're going to adjust this wheel down. See, this is a little too high over here. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's not sticking here, so we want to raise it a little bit. But it's sticking a little too much on these edges over here. So we're going to lower it. So we want to raise it over here. Probably want to raise it in the back there a little bit. Sorry, it's kind of hard to convey this, but I will get a good view of what this looks like. And this isn't my printer, and I haven't been using it. This is actually a friend of mine / client's file or printer that I am fixing for her. She's been having a lot of issues with it and isn't too happy with it right now. But okay, that looks like we're pretty close, but we still have 1 or 2 layers from the very beginning that weren't sticking right. So I'm going to go ahead and just peel these up so that we can see what the most recent fresh layer is looking like. Okay. So it's already done with the skirt, so it's going to start the leveling file now. The skirt is generally the best opportunity to see what the outer position is going to be. So in a case like this, we can either let it continue and still view it, which is a good option, or you could restart it and keep restarting until you get a perfect skirt layer. But I think we can view this and it'll be just fine. Let's see. It's bigger than I remember for some reason. Huh. Just builds it in a funny way. Now in a case where like it might be, let's say you get the whole outside totally level, but you're gonna have maybe like this point doesn't stick, or like this point doesn't stick but this point sticks too much. That's where, if you can get it as close as you can level and then you do a BL touch, it might actually be useful, as it could try to make up the difference in between the uneven surfaces. That's the intention of it. But 99% of the time you can get a bed like this to be level enough that it doesn't matter. And generally what I'll do is you find the lowest spot, or like the highest spot, and you level it there, and then all your low spots you can shim with like a little piece of paper or something you can put underneath. So if this wasn't sticking right here, we could put a little piece of paper and it'll raise it up right here, keep it low everywhere else, and you'll be okay. But yeah, so that's essentially how to do it. You want to start that file, and then you want to be looking at this. This is where we want to be, and then I teach it as the finger test. If you can lightly run your finger over top of the print, you know, not your fingernail, and it not come up. See, that came up just a little bit there because it wasn't fully stuck. But as long as you can do it with your finger, it's 99 or 90% of the time going to end up sticking and working. So this print would have an issue right here, but the rest of it would otherwise be working. So we could restart this, but for the sake of the video, that's how to level your Ender 3 Pro in about 16 minutes. So have a good day, guys. Hope you learned something. Like, share, subscribe. If you want to see some other videos about these or tips and tricks, comment below what you want to see, and we will make more of these for different printers, and more of these with different settings. So thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.